But as a Trump supporter asked me today, Bill, if the Republicans can't step up on easy stuff like this horrible Planned Parenthood moment where they've been caught selling, human body parts for money, and they can't step on Planned Parenthood at that moment, if they can't step up on immigration when you've got, the death out in California and the renewed focus on just how dysfunctional the border is, they can't step up, on these kind of big and can't even kill the XM bank. I mean, come on. Yeah, that's something that, from a political standpoint should be a freebie. Then what can they do from the standpoint of a conservative?
Well, I think it's going to hurt, anyone running who's associated with the Republican Congress. Now, you could say Cruz is rebelling against the Republican Congress. He's an internal rebel against McConnell. But I kind of wonder whether people just don't look at all sides of that fight in Washington and think kind of a plague on all your houses. So I do think this maybe hurts Rubio and Cruz among the presidential candidates, helps Trump, as you just said. I think it also does lay the groundwork for a governor like Scott Walker to say, hey, I governed in Wisconsin. I didn't have this kind of insanity. With my congressional leadership, we were able to get done the key things that we had to get done. And I'll go to Washington and change things in Washington. The big question for me is Jeb Bush. I mean, on the one hand, he's an outsider. He's not part of this congressional leadership. He could say, I can also change things in Washington. But I don't know. My sense is that the unhappiness with the establishment in Congress could spill over to unhappiness with the establishment, the broader Republican establishment, that's supporting Jeb Bush. So if I'm right about that, it seems to me all these developments, they're short-term good for Trump. But if I'm right that ultimately Trump is fading, not even ultimately, I think rather soon maybe, and in any case won't be the nominee, big opportunity, I think, for Scott Walker as a kind of conservative outsider.
Does it also lend to this disquiet about the Republican brand overall? And this is I know this is kind of one of the divides. Some people think the Republican brand means nothing. That's not how it works. It's people. Other people think no, it's harder to get people to vote Republican. But you see that as Trump has surged, you've seen a decline in the view in the polls of the GOP brand. And now you look at deeper and you see that the biggest drop is not among independents or Democrats who think less of Republicans. The biggest drop is among Republicans who think less of the Republican Party.
In a way, that's good news. Some of the political consultant types will tell us, because they're ultimately, most of those people are going to vote Republican anyway, so they're just unhappy with the current leaders in Congress. And I think there's some truth to that, but I think it increases the premium. All of this increases the premium for a new look, fresh candidate, fresh ideas, and big ideas. And I guess my biggest worry right now is less the shenanigans in Congress. I think it's going to get worse in Senate before it gets better. They have a September showdown coming on the budget, on what to do about next year, continuing resolution. I mean, it could be an unbelievable mess in September, and they might get a short-term solution then, 60 days, and kick it to November. But later this year, we could have a total sort of intra-Republican meltdown on the Hill with, of course, President Obama probably exploiting it some. So I'm not expecting much from Washington. The question for me is, will one of the presidential candidates step up in a big way and not just be an outsider? I think Scott Walker's got that line down pretty well, but be a big thinking outsider, a bold outsider who gives a sense of really coming in and changing things in a pretty big way. I think that's what the mood is, a responsible version of Donald Trump. I think Walker's the one, it just seems to be looking at the field, who had the easiest, could lay claim to that maybe most easily. Maybe one of the other candidates could come up and do it as well. Maybe none of them will, and we'll have a chaotic nominating process in which Trump is kind of the ultimately irresponsible outsider, and all the others look too inside, too cautious, too conventional. That would be very unfortunate.